congregational fight in a Grand Rapids church has gone from the sanctuary to the Michigan Supreme Court.
And new at 6, 24-hour News 8's Barton Dieters tells us about the unusual case where the court's getting involved in church business.
Brian, the state Supreme Court is dipping a toe into the murky, tumultuous intersection of church independence and contract law. The court will decide if it wants to get in the middle of a church dispute that goes back 5 years and ripped a church apart.
It's really too bad because, clearly in the Bible it calls for people to sit down with their brothers and not go to the civil court system.
The board of Pilgrim's Rest Baptist Church in Grand Rapids fired its pastor after discovering financial irregularities in 2011. That discovery would result in the Reverend Arthur Pearson pleading no contest to embezzlement along with the church secretary. Pearson's attorney tells us the congregation wanted to keep Pearson despite evidence that the pastor used church money for things like purchases at Victoria's Secret, Macy's, and Electric Cheetah, among other places.
Where they ignored the vote of the congregation to retain the pastor.
Some members left the church and followed Pearson to his new church. Lower courts ruled that they shouldn't take up the case involving Pearson's firing because it's a church matter. Next week, the state Supreme Court will hear arguments about whether they should hear the case. An attorney for the pastor says the court should take the case because it's simply a matter of the board violating an employment contract.
Otherwise, no contract in any religious institution in Michigan would have any effect.
Church attorney Bernard Schaefer says even if the decision of the church board was not protected by the constitutional separation of church and state, Pearson violated his contract by embezzling from the church and was rightfully terminated. Attorney Bruce Block specializes in representing churches in civil court, and he says he is surprised the High Court is looking at the case.
Most cases involving hiring and firing of ministers fall under the religious governance, and most courts will typically abstain from wading into those conflicts.
Even as this case is moving to Lansing, the factions of the church congregation have another case in Kent County Circuit Court regarding offerings made to the church and who the money belongs to. The Michigan Supreme Court will hear arguments next week and then decide if it wants to take on this thorny issue.